Ho ho ho. It's not Krimah right now. It's like a day before Thanksgiving for me, but when you're watching this video, it is Krimah. It's Krimah for everyone. Yeah. So to end off the year of 2022, I'm going to be talking about the music that was released this year. And you know what? I think the music was pretty good compared to last year, despite what the title says. So last year I uploaded this video talking about the music in 2021, and you know what? It was like a lot of bad, a lot of good, you know what I'm saying? A lot of rap, a lot of whack. This year is more or less the same because I listen to more or less the same music. At least that's what you will think. But when we get into the honorable mentions today, you will see that that is not the case whatsoever. Let's just jump right into it. For the first album of 2022, we got DS Forever by Gunna. Now, Gunna is in jail right now, so that probably means he did not make enough money from this album this year to get bailed out. Or maybe it's because he's just a criminal. I don't know. Anyway, I did not like this album. That's about it. There was one song on here, Pushin' P. That's the only one anyone has ever liked. End of story. Let's move on. Next up, we have Dawn FM by The Weeknd. Now, The Weeknd blew up in 2020 because of that one song everyone hears all the time. It's the #1 song in history, apparently. Look at these charts. So he released this album this year. I don't know why. Probably because money. I don't know what it's supposed to represent because artists always have a meaning behind their albums. But here, I get severe Michael Jackson vibes. You see, if you like Michael Jackson, you will like The Weeknd. And you will especially like this album. Alright, none of these songs really speak to me. Now, I still think it's a really good album. I think it stands out compared to all the other albums we have these days. Now, there was this one song that made me so horny I couldn't stop listening to it for 3 months, and it was Less Than Zero. This is my favorite song on the album, and I guess that's about it. Let's move on. Now for our next rap album here, we got Me vs. Me by NLE Choppa. Now, even though none of these songs are playlist worthy for me, it doesn't mean that I think it's a horrible album. While listening to the whole thing, I felt like a gangsta. I actually felt like a transracial black man. I just realized this is an EP, it's not an album, but still, I'm talking about it anyway. We got Shot of Flow 6. I felt like an absolute thug. Okay, I felt like I could beat my wife and get away with it. And then there's that one feature with Polo G. I don't remember anything of that song. I don't even feel like listening to it. Like, I do not care about this album, but like, it just made me feel like a gangster, you know what I'm saying? Now, last year I was very critical on YUNGBLUD. His album, Sincerely Control, I thought was way too gangster for my liking, and so I went as far to call him trash. YUNGBLUD is not better. You know who is better? Travis Scott. Now, we got all kinds of YUNGBLUD albums that I listened to this year, probably like 3 or 4, and you'll see in a sec. But to start off, we got Colors. Now, this album I think was significantly better than Sincerely Control. I think it was one of the best albums he released this year. But very quick, allow me to explain something. I have 3 different playlists. My main playlist, my alt playlist with songs that I kinda like, and then my sad playlist. We got 3 songs I was able to put on my alt playlist. DC Marvel, Bring It On, and I Got This. That's crazy. YUNGBLUD makes it to one of my playlists. Congratulations. Now, I feel like this is one of the top 5 albums this year that's gonna make it to Album of the Year. And personally, I'm okay with that because I really like this album, despite me only having 2 songs from here on my alt playlist. But this is I Never Liked You by Future. The 2 songs I liked on this was Keep It Burnin' featuring Kanye West and Foreign Nut featuring Gunna and Young Thug. Now, according to the numbers that represent each stream that these songs have on this album, these are the 2 lower songs on here. It's literally Kanye West. Why does this only have 27 million streams? Like, come on, bro. But yeah, these aren't the best songs ever made. That's why they're not on my main playlist. They're on my alt. Alright, they're kind of funny to listen to. Like, I like to sing along to them because they're kind of catchy, but like, they don't make me levitate or anything. Now, Foreign Nut, it's very obvious why I have this on my playlist. It's about 3 grown men that are best buds that talk about nutting and ripping their dio shook as it had nut stains. Why wouldn't I add that to my playlist? Now, this next artist, you know, he was an ex-rapper, alright? So what I'm about to talk about here is going to be a little bit different. Alright, he's a epic rock man, alright? He likes rocks, and he likes guitars, and putting them together to make rock music. Let's go. This is mainstream Sellout. So the songs I like on this album are 9 Lives, More Than Life featuring Glaive, Why Are You Here, Last November, Maybe featuring Bring Me the Horizon, Drug Dealer featuring Lil Wayne, Makeup Schmeck featuring Blackbear, Emo Girl featuring Willow, 5150. Yeah, that's it. If you want an album that makes you hate yourself and everyone around you, this is perfect. And a little birdie told me that Machine Gun Kelly here is gonna make his way back into the rap game, so that's kinda epic, I guess. Now, this next album, it's Come Home, The Kids Miss You by Jack Harlow. Now, I don't dislike this album. I hate this album. This album is very uninspiring, very lazy. I think the only good song that Jack Harlow has ever made in his whole life is Industry Baby with Lil Nas X, you know what I'm saying? This album is just full of like, how am I supposed to crack a smile and I'm hanging with Drizzy? All I need is advice. Yeah, I'm popping on his hands, I'm running on bands, I'm popping on fans, and I'm popping on his hands and scumming on the bands and scumming on band. Yeah, this album was such a chore to finish. I hated listening to it. You know, another album that I hate, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. Everyone loved this album. Everyone thinks that this should be album of the year. Alright, I hate this album so much. I was going into it thinking I was going to hear an absolute masterpiece. Same thing with Donda last year when I listened to that. I thought I was going to listen to the most epic meteor shower of an album to have ever graced the earth. But no, it's just made by some dude on crack that pays $1 million per night to stay in his mom's basement. And his mom's dead! His mom's dead. And as for Kendrick Lamar, oh Lord, I don't ever wanna listen to this ever again. The only thing that I've ever enjoyed listening to ever while listening to this album is the one where he's yelling at that black chick. And that one, I just needed to feel something, you know? I needed to feel something while listening to this whole thing because I never felt a thing while listening to any of it. Alright, this album was dookie. It is not album of the year. Just forget about it, okay? Alright, here's another one of my favorite albums from this year. This is 12 Carat Toothache by Post Malone. The last time Post Malone ever released an album was in 2019, and I have been starving for new Post Malone songs ever since. We got like some singles every once in a while, but it was very rare. And then now finally we have a whole album, and now I can wank to my wildest dreams to Posty. The songs I like on this album are Reputation, Cooped Up with Roddy Ricch, Lemon Tree, Wrapped Around Your Finger, I Like You with Doja Cat, I Cannot Be with Gunna, Insane, Love Hate Letter to Alcohol, When I'm Alone, One Right Now with The Weeknd, and Waiting for Never. Post Malone is my favorite artist of all time, and I love him so much. Look at his face tats, he's the apex. And there's this one video that surfaced recently where this kid, he's coming up to him with his phone, and he's like, "Hey Post Malone, you a bitch, you a bitch." Post Malone's and Post Malone just looks at him like, "That's rude, what the frick?" And he looks like he's about to cry. Man, it's a very cringy video. I think Post Malone could have, you know, dropped a few F-bombs in there, but, like, he's not cool. Like, he turns the phone around, you see his face. Worst mistake ever. He looks like an absolute loser, okay? You can tell he does not get any attention at home because he's got curly hair, okay? And yes, I have a problem with kids with curly hair. If you have curly hair, then I will not say anything to you. Next up is Honestly Nevermind by Drake. And that's exactly what I said when I finished listening to this album. Because, honestly, never mind, mate. I don't have anything to say about this album. I think we unanimously decided that this album is dookie. It was just an experimental album, just, you know, messing around with some different styles of music for Drakey. And it did not work out. And the song with 21 Savage, it's not good. I don't like it. Now, these next two albums, I'm just going to bunch them together. We got The Last Slamito and then Realer 2 by Youngboy. So Last Slamito, dookie. I felt like a gangsta, but overall it was dookie. Nothing playlist worthy. And then I listened to Realer 2 a little bit later, and it's a little bit better. But they're both dookie. Colors is the only good album I've ever listened to by Youngboy. Yeah, that's about it. Now, this next album I think is very close to album of the year, along with Future's album. So, you know, I feel like they're on a very similar level with quality. And you see, I'm not the only one that listened to this. I think that's pretty obvious, because you know who else listened to this? God did! God did! He listened to this. I think God approves. God approves very much, very much. He loves black people. Did you know God loves black people? He really does. Black people are allowed to have the atonement in the priesthood, in the church. That's very epic. God loves black people. And he also loves this because God did. Alright? I feel like half of the songs are hit or miss, okay? There's that one 8-minute one, God Did, featuring Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, John Legend, and more. I think that was very inspiring and unique. We got Use This Gospel, featuring Kanye West and Eminem. Big Time, featuring Future and Lil Baby. Let's Pray, featuring Don Toliver and Travis Scott. Juice WRLD did, featuring Juice WRLD. This might not make album of the year, but I feel like it's pretty close. It's a banger. People are very split on liking this album, and you know, I think it's a very healthy split. It is not for everyone. If you like obnoxious, overweight men screaming at you, then this is the album for you. Alright, and another banger that I really like from this year is YUNGBLUD by YUNGBLUD. I don't know why the album is named after himself, but like, whatever. Cause like, what does YUNGBLUD mean to me? Now, YUNGBLUD is not one person. It's multiple people. It's people that think exactly alike. People that are just like YUNGBLUD. People rejected from society. People that hate their dad and the dad hates them. People that can relate to each other. And that's what YUNGBLUD means to me. Now, the songs I like on this album are The Funeral, Tissues, Memories with Willow, Cruel Kids, Mad, Schmeck Not Violence, Don't go. I don't feel like feeling sad today. And die for a night. But here's the thing. I have something to rant about this. So this album, all the songs are good. Every single one of them, I swear. But they all sound the same. Okay? Like, there's this and there and this and that just, like, they sound unique and they're good and I love listening to them. But then, like, everything else, it just lacks variety. I feel like that's a problem with some artists these days. And I'll be getting into it with my next album here. But, you know, this album's good, but too good to the point where everything sounds the same. That's about it. So, next album here we got In Loving Memory by blackbear. Same treatment. All the songs sound the same. Now I picked 4 songs from this album that I feel like I won't get bored from anytime soon. And honestly, I could have added the whole playlist because every single song is good. But they all sound the same. It just lacks variety, it lacks creativity, everything's redundant, it's just about him being depressed, because that's what every album's about these days. And when I listen to albums, I like listening to albums with a variety of music, a variety of different mediums, and a variety of different stories. That's what was so unique about YUNGBLUD's album in 2020. There was a variety of mediums. And yes, every single song is about him wanting to kill himself and he hates himself a lot. But sometimes he talks about how his dad hates him, and how much his mum hates him, and how much his teacher hates him, and how much all of his friends hate him. See what I mean? There's a variety of mediums. It's okay to slip in a few songs in your album that are a little bit lazy and maybe just a little guitar, a little piano, you being like, I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about. Instead of just, I don't want to feel sad today, I want to live my business out of my way from what the internet says. No, here I get, don't feel like feeling sad today. Because it's alright to have a variety of mediums and different styles, because that's what makes an album so special. And that to me is how I feel about this album. But then there's this album and it's just a little bit different, you know. It's not really metal, is it? That's another thing. This album isn't metal. And then blackbear, he's a rapper. He makes In Loving Memory. It's not rap. It's metal. It's rock, something like that. Which is still good, but it all sounds the same. See, I'm jumping back and forth between these albums and stuff. But so let's just continue before this segment gets any more messy. Alright, speed round so this video doesn't get too long. Here we have It's Only Me by Lil Baby. You see, everyone loved this album, but I hated it. Ain't no song I like on this except for Russian Roulette, but that still ain't that good anyway. Next up, Her Loss by Drake and 21 Savage. Now this was a collaborative album between these two, and you know, it's Drake, everyone loved it, and I like 21 Savage for the most part, but I didn't like it that much. And everyone was making fun of Drake, saying like he sounded all sussy in the intro song, like 21, can you do something for me, 21. And then there's this one video I found on Twitter where there's like these 2 impersonators of Drake and 21. 21's like twerking, he's busting it down schmexual style. That's great, it's really funny. And then now we got Smithereens by Joji. The last album that Joji released was in 2020, and I love this album. Alright, Smithereens, this one was pretty decent. Maybe it wasn't that good. It was kind of mid, but like, you know, I'm glad he's making music again, I guess. Yeah, we love Filthy Frank, we love Joji, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Alright, I got a couple of extra albums that I listened to like right after I recorded this video, so I'm just gonna jump right in here and, you know, talk about them. So first we got Heroes and Villains, whatever by Metro Boomin. Now Metro Boomin, he's a very famous producer, and he makes all kinds of instrumentals for all kinds of rappers and stuff. And so, you know, I didn't even know he made his own music and like albums and stuff. So here's one that he made recently. Alright, so this one has like a bunch of songs by Future on it, of course, because they're like best buds or whatever. Yeah, this album's pretty good. I felt like a gangster. You know the spiel. Like it's kind of on the same level of like Future's album and DJ Khaled's album. Like, you know, they valid in some ways, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like a gangsta. Superhero with Future and Chris Brown. Too Many Nights featuring Don Toliver and Future. Those 2 songs, those are at the top of my main playlist right now. They're like stuck in my head all the time. They're fire, brother. Yeah, I don't know, mate. Next we have Mercury by Imagine Dragons. Now, you know, Imagine Dragons was my favorite band in middle school and stuff. I love listening to them, especially in 6th grade. And so this is kind of a bit of a blast from the past, you know. They're not rap or like a metal or anything. They're like soft rock, I think that's what the genre's called. If you like Enemy, Bones, or Sharks, you know, you're gonna love this album and stuff. I think Imagine Dragons definitely fell off and their music isn't as good as it was back then, But this is still a fun listen if you were, previously a fan of the Magic Dragons in the past, so there you go. Alright, this next thing I want to talk about, I listened to this at the beginning of the year, and it's not technically an album, it's an EP, but I really need to talk about it because it's very important. Here we have All Dogs Go to Heaven by Glaive. Now, Glaive was an underground artist when I first discovered him, but now he's becoming rich and famous, so he's not underground anymore, but, he released this EP, and I saw my female friend listening to it, and I'm like, that's interesting. And so then I just had it on repeat, and I'm like, bruh, I'm so horny. Then the craziest thing happens. He releases a deluxe to All Dogs Go to Heaven called Old Dog New Tricks. That's crazy. And so then there's like a few new songs, and there you go. But I'm wanking. I got more songs for my playlist. Let's get it. Now, despite it not being an album, let's assume that it is an album. This is one of my top 5 favorite albums that was released this year. It's very detrimental to my music taste that changed so drastically this year. So now let's get into our honorable mentions. Albums that were released years ago that nobody cares about anymore, but I decided to listen to them this year anyway. First up, we have K through 12 by Melanie Martinez. Now, I listened to her Crybaby album last year, and so I had to cop my hands on K through 12, and so I did, and I could not stop listening to this album for so long. Pretty much most of the songs on here I really like. I might as well become gender fluid because of how feminine this album made me and how much I twerked after listening to it. And I don't have to worry about starving for more Melanie Martinez content for too long because her newest album will be dropping like any day now. I don't know when, but I heard late 2022. I'm hyped. Yeah, I'm a woman. All right, now back to Glaive real quick. He made this collaborative EP with Eric Doa. I don't know who the heck this is, but this album was mid. End of story. So then I went back to 2020 and then I listened to Cypress Grove, however you say it. This album was mid, and the only song I like is 2009. That song's a banger, but everything else, it's very dated. He was 15 when he made this album. It's very... Next up, we have Planet Her by Doja Cat. Now, like I said, I am very feminine and I might as well be gender fluid. And so I had to cut my hands on this album as well. This album is fire, bruv. I really felt like a woman. I started twerking every single day of my life after listening to this album. It was my complete transition into gender fluidness. After a brief period of Discord modding, I was recommended by one of my Discord kittens to listen to all of the Neighborhood albums, and I did. There's like 5 of them, and I did it all in like 1.5 days. It was torture, but I got a lot of songs out of it. Alright, it all starts with I Love You. And then this rap one, which sucked. It was just full of early 2010s rap, which is not good. And then Wipeout. And then Hard to Imagine Neighborhood Without the Neighborhood, whatever the heck it's called. And then Chip and Chrome and the Monotones and the Skono Bone and the Post Malone and those episodes of Us Just Alone and the Google Chrome. Now, if I had to choose which album was the best, it would obviously be between Wipeout and then Hard to Imagine Neighborhood Without a Neighborhood being the. I think everyone can agree on that. I think they're very equal. I don't know which one my favorite. I think they're very important albums, and they're the ones that make them the most money. Chip and Chrome was dookie. It was a completely different style what they usually do, and I don't know what the heck was going through this man's head, but I think he was going insane, and he hasn't released an album since. All he's done is this single, Fallen Star, came out last year. Dookie. But yeah, I Love You was like one of their debut albums in 2013 or whatever. It's where it all started. We got the classics. Pretty good in it, but not as good as the 2015 and 2018 one. Ayy. And then after my period of Discord kittening was over, I was recommended by one of my non-binary friends from school to listen to this album here from 2012 called Hawiwi Part 2. There is no Part 1 for some reason, but here we go. Now this album it's full of TikTok songs. When I was listening to the whole thing, all I can think of is TikTok. Daddy issues. But yeah, it's really just a one-time listen for me. The last 2 songs at the end of it, those were the only good ones for me in it. Now, you see, this year I had a musical awakening, so I've been listening to a lot of different, variety of stuff. We got woman stuff, and we got emo stuff. Now, Machine Gun Kelly, I had a Machine Gun Kelly awakening this year, and so I decided, you know what, I need to listen to his old albums if I'm ever going to call myself a Machine Gun Kelly fan ever again. And so I did, and Hotel Diablo was mid, okay? It was when he was still a rapist. Okay, and then Tickets to My Downfall, pretty good in it. Got the guitars and all that. 2020, you know what I'm saying? He wants to kill himself. There's not very many songs from these 2 albums that I was able to take out and put into any of my playlists, but still a good one-time listen nonetheless, you know what I'm saying? I must apologize, halfway through this video, it's just me rambling on. Now, to wrap this video up, let me just get this out of the way. I don't know what my favorite album from this year is gonna be. The best I can do is just give a top 5. Old Dog New Tricks, I Never Liked You, Mainstream Sellout, God Did, and 12 Carat Toothache. Not exactly in that order, but those are my top 5. Now for my favorite artists of all time, I don't know how the heck I'm gonna update that list that I gave out last year. I'm not even gonna touch on that because I don't know what my favorite artists are anymore. So I guess that wraps up today's video. Merry Christmas. Sorry this video was such a mess. I highly doubt that even more than half of the people that clicked on this video got to this point. But for the 3% that will, arigato. 2023 is going to look very different. We're going to have super short videos, maybe like 8 minutes long, just talking about whatever for every single week. We're going to be doing more YouTube shorts and stuff. We're going to be uploading on IG Reels and then TikTok. We're going to be streaming stuff that people are actually going to want to watch on Twitch. At least I'll try. Twitter will stay the same. I don't know. I guess that's about it then. Follow all the social media. Bye-bye.